These are Shiftstones. Every stone gives you an ability that changes the way you play. Some more drastic, some are more passive, but they all change your playstyle somewhat. However, these stones hold back your progress a lot when you're starting out in the game. First of all, let's go over what every stone does, and then I'll tell you why. Adamant Stone reduces one of your damage after you hit someone until the effect is over. Charge Stone strengthens your straight after a short wind-up. This also works on kick and uppercut. Flow Stone gives you the ability to jump or dash while in mid-air once. The speed you gain from this does not stack. Guard Stone gives you a new pose that gives you a shield. Anything hit by the shield won't break, and damage is reduced by 1. Stubborn Stone also reduces damage by 1, but this is activated while dashing or jumping. It also ignores all forms of knockback, making it one of the strongest stones in the game. This also counts for jumps and dash activated by Flow Stone. Surge Stone functions similar to Adamant, where it's activated on hit. The bigger the hit is, the longer the effect will last, but under the effect, when you directly hit someone, they will get 1 more extra damage. This can also affect this chain. Vigor Stone will heal 2 health after doing 5 damage in quick succession. It doesn't matter how this damage arrives, as long as it's in time. You also need to be the person that directly influences this damage. So if someone puts Explode on it before you hit them, it is their object and the counter won't go up. Volatile Stone makes your Explode move a lot stronger. This makes it easier to knock structures into players like this. So why exactly do Shiftstones slow your progress? It all has to do with the fact that there's no other game like Rumble. You're good at a first-person shooter? You're not at Rumble. Oh, you played Elements Divided before? Yeah, that game translates 0 stuff into Rumble. Very different game. Very good game, though. If you haven't heard of it, you should check it out. But with Rumble, it's kind of strange, because you kind of have to make your own controller. Since Rumble doesn't use any of the button inputs on your controllers, it's all based on hand motions, like this. Oh, get out of here, Charge Stone. You have to get familiar with how the game works with muscle memory. So let's take Charge for an example on how it will slow your progress in Rumble. I'll go over all of the stones separately, but let's start with Charge. One of the first combos you learn in Rumble is the Speed Disc. Oh my god. One of the first combos you learn in Rumble is the Speed Disc. This is the bread and butter of combos of Rumble. It's relatively easy and one of the most useful combos in the whole game. That is not an over-exaggeration. Speed discs are used in almost every game you play, and they're extremely good at doing chip damage. But another combo you're going to learn very early in the game is called a hop. This is done by doing a straight and then a kick in rapid succession. Other more difficult combos you'll learn are strut uppercuts, slingshot strut uppercuts, and slingshot hop. You'll also learn stuff like cannonballs, Q-brains, and a whole lot of different stuff. But let's say you decide to use Charge. Once you charge it up, you just have to, well, punch it. This is a relatively easy way to do a lot of damage, and definitely works really well. However, this does mean that you don't get to learn any of the other combos that I mentioned before. A better way to use Charge is by amplifying the combos you already have. You can also do something that's called chambering. If you charge up an object, the first punch you will do does the extra knockback, regarding of what object it is. This is how far a cube would normally go. It's about twice as far. Now, I've used the term crutching before, but it basically means that your Shiftstones are within your foundation. However, if you do insist on using Shiftstones, here are a few safe options and a few tips on how to not crutch on them. The first stone I want to talk about is of course Adamant. Adamant is a very nice buff for a foundational playstyle. Once I hit however big here, all increased damage is of course reduced by 1, but one more thing you might not know about the stone is that all self-damage, even if the stone isn't active, is also reduced by 1. This is because the effective adamant goes before the damage calculation. So if I hit myself with this ball here, it'll only do 1 tick of damage. This also means that if I put explode on discs before they hit me, this structure now officially belongs to me, and it counts as a self-hit. This is a really funny way to defend yourself against discs. Really unpractical, but it's cool to pull off. It helps you a little bit with timing, so Adamant Stone, use it. Next up on the list is Surge Stone. This stone functions very similarly to Adamant, but it is a little bit more dangerous. A quick reminder, Surge Stone also activates on hit, and it does 1 more damage. That timer of the surge effect gets reset based on how heavy that hit was. Another really great way to use this is by disc spamming. You have just about enough time. What the fuck? Huh? We're good? Okay. Okay. You have just about enough time to affect the chain. That was a little too slow. Now you might think this stone is mirrored with Adamant, where you do 1 more damage to yourself. This is however not the case, so don't worry about that. However, Surge activates on any player. This means that if I hit myself, the effect will last. And if I hit myself now, I will do 2 damage. So try and be really careful with self-hitting yourself on Surge, because it can mess you up a lot. Now the last super safe stone is Vigor. Vigor is the last shift stone that is completely passive. Ooh. Now similar to Adamant and Surge, this activates on hits. However, it doesn't matter how big your hit is, the effect will always have the same amount of time. It'll also reset every time you hit someone. So if you keep your Vigor active and do 5 damage while doing so, you will heal 2 health. Oh my god. If you want to encourage yourself hitting more efficiently, Vigor and Surge is a very nice combo. This effectively makes you want to do more damage. Now let's go over the semi-safe stones, and we'll start with our friendly friend, Flowstone. Now there's 2 reasons why this stone is not in the safe category, and that is because it is very crutchable, and 2, it is not a passive stone. What I mean with that is that this stone doesn't passively change the way you play. You actively have to do different moves to activate it. In this case, that's a dash. Flowstone is really nice for traversing around anywhere you want, but this stone is very crutchable. Can you stop, Howard? I've said this a bunch of times, and I'll say it again. When you're starting out, stay on the ground. I know jumping is really fun, especially with Flowstone, but if you keep jumping around, but you gotta keep in mind that when you're in the air, without any other structures, the only form of defense you have, keep in mind that when you're in the air, your trajectory is very predictable, it's always the same curve, and you can't spawn in any of your own objects. This makes defending in the air a lot harder. Also, the moment you take off this stone, your muscle memory would want to jump in, even though this is very dangerous, especially when you jump straight toward the opponent. However, this stone opens the door to more possibilities, which is why I like it so much. Moves like high dives simply are not possible without Flowstone. Oh my god, I almost failed that. First try though. I personally don't really have an aerial playstyle, but this stuff is very fun. Kinda gimmicky, but it is really fun to learn this stuff. And it's not as hard as it looks. So, in my opinion, a safe way to use Flowstone is for combo potential. It's a really good recover tool. You can sometimes recover with it when you get flung off the ring. But there are a few ways to crutch, so be careful. The next somewhat safe stone you can use is Volatile. Man, do I love Volatile. The only thing this stone does is it makes Explode stronger. Now you can of course crutch on this because, you know, it really buffs the Explode. However, just like Flow, there are a few combos that you simply cannot do without Volatile. This cube currently has a value of 2. If you move a structure faster, it gains an extra value. So if I punch this ball into this cube, they'll both have a damage value of 2, and they'll both get destroyed. But what you can do is give the object an extra damage point by grounding it, and then you can do that. This is truly hard to master, but really fun to pull off. Now let's say there's someone behind this wall here. You can choose to curve things around it like that. You can also do stuff like this, courtesy of Bibbin, and something like this. I'm planning on making a whole video about this, so if you want to see that, please let me know in the comments down below. The moment you take this off, you are going to feel like your explode is very weak. There's not a lot you can do about that. So start without volatile, then use volatile, so that way you can safely go back, just in case you want to use a different stone or strategy. Now I've already talked about charge, so I won't anymore, because point still stands, but I will, however, talk a little bit about stubborn stone, because in my opinion, this stone is the strongest in the game. I'll tell you why. With stubborn you learn that you dash through all objects, negating 1 damage, and negating all of the knockback. You also learn that it works really well if you don't want to get thrown off the edge, even if the opponent uses explode. Without these stones, you play a whole lot differently, and that, oh, I don't have the means of defense here. This stone is incredibly crutchable. Once you're used to not taking any knockback while dashing, and reducing 1 damage, you are set. That is now in your foundation. Good luck getting it out. Please, please do not use stubborn when you're starting out in Rumble. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about this one because I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Dangerous stone to use if you want to get good. Alright, let's finally address Guardstone and why you shouldn't use it. But I do think this is the #1 stone you should not use when starting in Rumble. This creates so many bad habits. Not only does it create bad habits, but it completely stops your progress in the defense category. Even with Stubborn Stone, you learn some form of timing with your dashes, but with this, you just wait until you get hit. Last time I made a video about this, I told you to not use Guardstone at all. And here's the thing, I still stand by that point, and my mind hasn't changed. However, I do want to point out that the tech with Guardstone, the stuff that people found out you can do with it, is indeed very impressive, and I am very impressed. Oh, yeah. However, I cannot sit here and tell you as a newer player that you should use this stone, because you really shouldn't. And let's get over why. Guardstone makes your hitbox a lot bigger, so discs that wouldn't hit do in fact hit. You can't move, run, dash, or anything while holding up the guard shield, and your feet are not protected, so discs will go under. The added benefit of the bigger hitbox, your feet not being protected, and the fact that you literally cannot sprint or dash while in the Guardstone effect, makes it a really difficult stone to use for newer players. So if you're a newer player, or even a more experienced player, or even one of the pro players, try and play without Shiftstones about a week, something like that. This will strengthen your foundation so much, I can't stretch it enough. I hope you guys enjoyed this video though. I'll see you all in the next one. Be out.